All right, so a bunch of you have been asking for this video, so I thought it was time to deliver. The question is, how do you work with Amazon sellers? How do you get people to send you stuff for free? And maybe more importantly, how do you get paid to review things for other people? So I'm gonna go into my history with Amazon sellers in this video and talk about how I've kind of scaled up over time, my recommendations going forward, and just some of my best tips and tricks as far as working with Amazon sellers. First, you'll see I have a pile behind me, and I want to just walk you through some of these things. These are chicken toys. We have chickens. We've posted reviews on chickens. So somebody found me and they said, do you want some chicken toys? Magnetic tiles, a bunch of them. We actually have 2 different sets here and another one's coming. I've reviewed magnetic tiles in the past, actually 3 different times. People found me and they asked, will you review magnetic tiles? Then we've got ukulele here with the gig bag and a tuner and things like that. I reviewed like 10 ukuleles in the past. Somebody found me. They asked me if I wanted to review a ukulele. And finally, an elevated dog bowl, which I haven't set up or installed yet. I've reviewed one of those in the past. So you'll notice a trend here. People are sending me things that I already have. Now, there's a few things that you can do with that. One is, cool, I have now 2 of that thing, and in many cases, like with toys, it's really great to just have extra. Now, most of the things I get, I actually just give away. So as a teacher, I have students who have more needs than I have, and so we do classroom auctions and things like that, and I give a lot of my stuff away. Things that would work for baby shower gifts, wedding gifts, birthday presents, I hold on to those things, and we have different bins in our house to give away cool gifts. One of my favorite things about being a reviewer for Amazon and doing product reviews is being able to give away really cool gifts all the time. Like, I'm literally giving things away every week, which is really cool. Now, this is all stuff that just arrived today. Now, I get a lot of stuff, and so when you wonder, like, how does someone get to reviewing 500, 1,000, 2,000 things? I think most of us that are near or above the 1,000 review mark, we're getting stuff, right? We're not paying for it. Somebody is sending us that stuff. Now, let me go back in time and tell you kind of the evolution of how that got started for me. I actually became a product reviewer a long time ago, several years ago, because there's a company called Tomoson, Tomoson. You should totally Google it. And it was my entrance into this arena because you set up a profile and you select things that you want. Now, sometimes, especially early on, you just get discounts on things, so you're buying it for half price, and then you review it. But eventually people will start paying you, and what Tomoson does is it matches up sellers with influencers, and the bigger your social following, the more likely people are going to select you to review their products and post them on YouTube or Instagram or Twitter, Pinterest, Facebook, any platform. Now, I don't use Tomoson so much anymore, but I probably reviewed at least 500 products on that platform. So that was my start about 5 years ago. I started doing product reviews. I also posted those reviews to YouTube, and because of my presence on YouTube and on Instagram, companies over the last 5 years have been reaching out to me and asking me if I would review similar products. I've also reached out to companies. I showed you my ukulele earlier. As a teacher, I found that ukuleles were something that students wanted all the time. And so I started reaching out to companies and said, hey, I reviewed this ukulele in the past for either your company or for a competitor's company. Those seem to be doing pretty well on YouTube, and I would link to one of my reviews that had maybe 10,000 views or even 1,000 or 2,000 views and said, here's how it's doing. Would you like to send me your newest ukulele and I'll review it for you? And a number of those companies responded positively. I tried that with drones, with backpacks, with electric bikes. Didn't work with the electric bikes, but worked with all those other things. And so sometimes reaching out to companies works. Now, the way I found those companies, the easiest place was to search for them on Facebook, because most of them will have some sort of shopping place on Facebook, and it will have contact information. A lot of companies that work just with Amazon don't have a storefront online. They don't have their own website, but many of those do still have a Facebook page. And so that was my best place to track down companies. In other instances, they found me, so I made sure that I had an email linked to my YouTube account, linked to my Instagram account, and so people would reach out to me. So that's how I did it for a number of years. And eventually I got to the point where I was making maybe $100 a month reviewing products, and I'd review 5 or 6 things and get about $100 a month. It was a really good side gig, and it worked really well for me. Well, about a year ago, I got into the Amazon Influencer Program, and this is where it scaled up really quickly. What you'll find is the more things that you have posted to your storefront in Amazon, the more likely it is that someone will reach out to you to review either a similar product to what you've already posted or just any random product. And there's basically 3 kinds of sellers that will reach out to you. First is like the owner of a small company, so the CEO or the founder of a small company. They'll reach out to you because they saw that you did something related to their product, and they'll ask to work with you. The second one is Amazon sellers who are looking at specific products, and so they'll do similar. They'll see that you reviewed one specific thing, and they'll reach out to you on behalf of a company, so they're the middleman, and they'll reach out to you. The third one is an Amazon seller who is a broker who doesn't care what products. They have like hundreds of products in their inventory, and they're just looking for reviewers. Now, between those 3, I think once you start having 20, 30, or even if it's the right products, after having one video up on Amazon, people will start reaching out. But for me, the threshold was once I had about 100 videos, I would get 1 or 2 emails 2 or 3 times a week. So you typically get most of your emails on Monday and Tuesday at the beginning of the week. You might have a few later on in the week. But with 100 videos, I was getting a few. Now times that by 10, now I'm close to 1,000 videos. And on Monday, Tuesday, I'll have 10 to 20 emails. And about half of those are people that I've worked with in the past. Actually, probably more than half is people I've worked with in the past. And then maybe 10 a week will be new inquiries, people who are looking because I've reviewed a similar or related product. So I get a lot of inbound requests now, and I don't do any outbound. I would if there was something I really, really wanted. And I mentioned e-bikes a few months ago. I really wanted an e-bike. And so I did try to reach out to a few companies, but just didn't have any luck. And really, that's not a great use of my time at this point because I'm getting so many inbound requests. It's just finding the right people. Now, as far as getting paid, this is a question a lot of you have is, what should I charge? How much should I charge to do reviews? Well, that depends on how much you value your time and where you're at in your reviewer's journey. For me, early on, I was just grateful to get stuff. And so I would do it for free. Especially if it was something I wanted. If somebody was sending me an office chair or an electric guitar, or some gym equipment, I would gladly do that for free. But eventually you get to the point where you have more stuff than you can handle. And at that point, you need to raise your rates. And if that's raising it from $0 to $10 or $20, that's great. I know a lot of Amazon sellers in the beginning, they're either not allowed to offer you money, or if they do, it's only $10 or $20. But once you've worked with them for a number of months, they are given permission to raise their rates as brokers. And so you can request that. And so if you have a long-term relationship with someone, you can ask for more money and they might say no. But for the most part, a lot of these third-party sellers and the middlemen, they're simply looking to fill a quota. They have 20 things that need to be reviewed, so they're reaching out to as many influencers as possible, and whoever says yes the fastest gets it. They're not necessarily looking at your conversion rates or how many other things you've reviewed. They're simply finding someone to put a review up for them. And if you make good reviews, you're more likely to get a few more requests, but it really doesn't make a huge difference. They're simply looking for Amazon influencers. So for me, when I started a year ago, I wasn't asking a lot for my reviews. They've gone up over time. Just to give you a sense, I just looked at my spreadsheet, and here we are in the first week of August, and I've already posted 8 sponsored reviews for August, and the total income from those 8 reviews, I think, was $260. I have another of the things that I have on hand that I haven't reviewed yet that have arrived in the last few days. I have another 7 products, and for those, it's another $260. So I'm looking at $520 right now with the stuff I've already received. For the rest of the month, I already have 13 that people have said they'd send to me. Now, I have found that not everything that they say, okay, we'll send it to you, and then oftentimes it never arrives. And so I do have kind of a follow-up, and I'll talk about my scripts later and my emails and how I communicate with sellers. But I would say for every 10 things that are promised to you, expect to get 6 or 7. So probably more than half, but definitely not all. And so of the 13 things that I have, the value on that is another $300 or $400, but probably about 10 of those will come for about $300, because and if you've been doing the math in your head, you can probably figure out most of the products that I review right now are $30 reviews. I have a few that are free or $20, very few. And then I have a few that are $50, $75, $100. So I have a few that are in that range, but it averages out to between $30 and $40 per product review. And that's after I've probably done 1,000 sponsored reviews if you include all my time with Thomason. If just since the Amazon Influencer Program, I've probably done at least 200 reviews. So I've done a lot to get where I'm at. And with where I'm at, I can easily make $1,000 a month. If I said yes to things that I don't need or want, I could easily make $2,000 to $3,000 a month. More than that, it would be a lot of work. But $1,000 a month for me right now is kind of the sweet spot. And I have raised my rates, and I've said no to a lot more things. I've cut communication with a lot of sellers that weren't a good fit. And so at this point, early on, I was spending 1 or 2 hours a day looking at different sellers, looking at products, deciding what I wanted, keeping track of all the data. And now I can do that in 1 or 2 hours once or twice a week. So it is still a bit of paperwork, and that's kind of frustrating. There are things that go wrong with working with Amazon sellers. People will steal your videos and post them as their branded videos. That just happens. I'd say it's not common, but probably 1 in 50 will do that. So if you review 100 sponsored posts, about 2 of them will get stolen, or at least that's been my experience. Sometimes people don't come through and don't pay you, at least not right away. I haven't been stiffed by anyone. So out of those 200 reviews, all of them have paid. But there have been a few that it took them months to pay. It took a real long time and a lot of follow-up emails, where if you value your time, if I'm trying to get $30 and it requires 10 emails, that's not worth it, And so there are things that are frustrating in working with sellers. Obviously, there's a communication challenge with some, because most of these are coming from China or throughout Asia. And so there are frustrations in dealing with sellers, but for the most part, I have found that sellers, they're just trying to make a living. They're doing the best they can. Most of them are really pleasant and fun to work with. And so, try to be positive when you deal with them. Give them the benefit of a doubt. Even when someone steals my videos, I'll reach out to them before I report it to Amazon. And I'll say, hey, I noticed that you took my video down and posted it as yours. If it's an Amazon seller that's working as a third party, I'll say, or as a broker, I'll say, hey, you might not be aware of this, but the company's stealing videos from influencers. And I'll say, will you tell them to take it down? Or if you want to buy the usage rights, you can do that. And that's another question. What about usage rights? You can charge as much or as little as you want for that. So if someone says, I want to own your video, I want to post it on Amazon as if it was part of our company, or put it on my website, I would say like 1 in 20 ask for that, especially if you do like an installation or a setup video. Often they will want that to put on their Amazon page. And so I would say at least ask for $100 on those. If you ask for $300 or $400, they'll say no, most of the time. But if you ask for $100, and they might counter with 75 or something, but most are willing to pay more to own the video, which means you're not going to make money from Amazon on that video because it won't be connected to your account anymore. And so that's something to consider. Along those same lines, and thinking about whether or not it's worth it to even work with sellers in the first place, eventually it's not. And I've done a lot of searching through my own data and looking and tracking the products that I've reviewed for others versus products of things that I just reviewed around my house versus things that I intentionally bought from Amazon that I wanted. And by far the things that make the most money are the things that you buy on purpose, that are best sellers, that you don't have high competition. After that, the next best category is things that you just found around your house. And the worst things for long-term sales are things that you review for other people. And it might be because they're really cheap products. It might be because they're unknown companies that don't have a big marketing budget. There's a number of different factors, but I have found that across the board, and I've looked at hundreds of these, it just doesn't pay very well. So if I wanted, for example, instead of doing a ukulele for free or getting paid to review a ukulele, I could buy the ukulele that I want, that's a bestseller, that probably is higher quality. I can review that, and I don't get paid anything up front. In fact, I'm in the whole $70. But after a year has passed, I'll be way more likely to make significant money from that ukulele than if I do it for an unknown company. And so a lot of people eventually phase out doing sponsored reviews because when you're at the point I'm at now, I made $7,000 last month. I would probably be better off to just take $1,000 or $2,000 and buy whatever I want instead of get $1,000 or $2,000 worth of products for free from someone else that don't make money for me in the long run. And so it's just hard to do that because honestly, I love having Christmas every day. I love having people reaching out and say, do you want this for free? And we'll pay you for it. And so I'm scaling back, and I'll probably continue to scale back and raise my rates at the same time. I would love to get to the point where I still make $1,000 a month, but I'm only reviewing a handful of products, and they're things that I really, really want. So that's what I'm looking towards, but in the meantime, it's really fun to get stuff every day. Gee, this is a long video. I hope I've answered most of your questions. Let me pause for a second and think if there's anything else. Oh yes, I knew there was something that I'd forgotten. Many of you have asked about scripts, or do you send a template? How do you correspond with sellers? So when sellers reach out to me, I have basically 3 different emails that I can send back. So I'm gonna do a copy and paste, which isn't bad because most of them are doing a copy and paste to you. So they have the same script they're using to reach out to influencers. We're responding with our copy and paste. Mine basically says, I love reviewing products. I'm glad you reached out to me. I typically charge blank for a review and more if it's an installation or a setup, and even more if you're asking for usage rights. What is your budget look like? So that's my standard email that I respond to people that have emailed me. Now, if someone messages me on Facebook or Instagram, I hate social media, and so I don't log into those as often, but I'll check once or twice a week and make sure that I've gotten any inquiries from there. And my response there is similar. It says, I love doing reviews. Thanks for reaching out to me. I charge in this range. And then I say, I really hate to communicate via this platform. If you could respond to me on email, I'll be more likely to work with you and to respond to your inquiries. And so I try to move them off of the platforms onto email. For me, it's just a matter of organization. I have all these spreadsheets and things, and I like to be able to flag things in my email and sort them in different folders. And so that's why I do it that way. So I basically have those two, and then I have another one where if somebody is looking for something that I think is going to be a lot more work, an installation or just a product that's more involved, then I just change those financial figures and say, you know, for these kinds of products, I charge this amount. Now, on that default template, I also will say, so I'll say I typically charge blank, but sometimes I will do reviews for a reduced or even for free if it's a product that I really want. So I don't want to eliminate sellers right in the beginning. I want to give them that hope. But if it's something that I'm not super excited about, then I just delete that line and I say, this is my rate. So if it's something that I'm not super interested in, then I definitely charge. The other thing is, and so I'm glad we're getting to this too, you'll notice all these things that I showed you earlier, these are things that I either want or I know I can give away to students. They're things that are going to be useful to someone. Often I'll have sellers, and you'll find this especially in the early stage, the ones that work as a broker and have hundreds of products, they might send you a link to a Google sheet that just lists all these products, and they say pick one. Well, first is if you pick 10, they're still only going to send you 1 or 2. Almost no one will send you more than 2 as a new collaboration if you're working with them for the first time. So I recommend don't send them a list of 10 because they'll give you the 2 worst ones. Send them a list of 3 or 4 and put the ones you want the most at the top of the list and say, I'm interested in this, 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 and this. Will those work? And if they say no, then you can go back with the other ones that you're willing to review. A lot of those lists of lots of things are going to be really, really cheap things. Now, I have found that actually some of my kids really like cheap things. And so, for example, I'm in the jewelry game, right? I have a daughter who loves to make bracelets and necklaces. And often there are really cheap beads or what are those called? The little things charms that go on your bracelets that people want to sell those all the time. Well, to create a review for that is so easy. You open it up, so this is what's in it. If my daughter is available with me, we'll make a bracelet together, or she'll make one and I'll get some B-roll of it. But those are really easy. A lot of the reviews at this cheaper price point, where they're saying, here's 100 things, pick some, they're going to be things that you can literally pull out of the box, do it in 1 minute. A lot of sellers want you to do it at least a minute. So it'll be like 1 minute and 5 seconds, just talking about how you might use it or what enjoyment you might get from it. So you just do it really quickly and that's it. So it's a 1 minute review, no editing. It's really easy. Other reviews, if you're getting paid $50, you might add some B-roll and an audio track and things like that, do some voiceover. But none of these have to be super difficult, not a super high production value. Occasionally you might do that. I reviewed a $1,000 drone last year and I spent probably at least 20 hours getting a lot of footage, doing really fancy transitions and stuff. And it was great because I got paid up front, but then I was an affiliate for them and I've made money over time. And so that was worth the time. But most videos, super easy, just knock them out. And if you can do that, then you can do 30 or 40 of these reviews a month, make over $1,000, and it's really easy. So, whew, I think this is the longest video I've ever made for you guys. Hopefully it's valuable. I'm gonna sign off now. If you have any other questions, put them in the comments. If you're new to the channel, what a way to be introduced to Amazon Influencer Program. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, do subscribe, but also note that a lot of my reviews are on this channel. At least right now, I might separate them in the future. But the best way to see all the videos about the Amazon Influencer Program is to go to my playlist. So if you're on the YouTube channel, click on playlists and there's one just for Amazon Influencer Program. I have a lot of videos and hopefully those are useful. Again, I am thinking about separating channels in the future. If you have any ideas or suggestions for that, I'd love to hear about it. All right, have a great day. Bye-bye.